All right, everybody. Welcome to this special session of Dotloop training. I guess I would call it Dotloop Beyond the Basics, that we're lucky enough to have Ken Carey join us today. He's in the state he spoke to the region on Monday. Some of you were there, some of you weren't, but he graciously agreed to come out and spend a little time with us this afternoon to make sure we're Dotloop masters, and I really thank him for doing that. So I think you guys are going to learn a lot here, and hope you enjoy it.
All right. I apologize for the Fox News pop-ups on here. I'm not exactly sure how I got myself set to do that, but at any rate, try not to get distracted by them. So yeah, so we're going to go through the basics a little bit again, because here's what I always find with the class. I can go through and I can ask a group of people how many are beginners, and most of the class will raise their hand. How many are intermediates? A couple will, and how many are advanced? And inevitably, I can go through what I would consider to be the Dotloop basics with the advanced group of people, and then ask them at the end of that if they learned anything, and they all say yes. So I'm going to start very, very simple. We're going to start up at the top of the screen. Does everybody here know how to log into Dotloop? Yeah? Well, good. Then we're going to skip that. That's what I'll consider the basics. We'll move right into the intermediate with use of the application. So one of the things I'm going to be doing today, I'm going to be bouncing around back and forth between your version of Dotloop, okay, the Exit Realty version, which you can see up here, and my training one for my own training account. And the reason I'm doing that right now is because this one my training account has more data for me to access, okay? So what I'm going to do is we're going to start up at the top of the screen. In the top left corner of this, top left corner of the screen, but the icons, these 6 icons are right up here. The one that I've got my mouse on is called the dashboard, okay? Your dashboard icon, what that's doing is that's giving you a snapshot of your business, kind of at a glance. So as you're creating loops out there, creating transactions, and you're moving those through different statuses, okay? An active listing, move to under contract, move to sold, and you're recording your volumes and things like that with it. So you're recording your sale prices and things. The system's actually tracking all of that. And so like what I'm looking at right here is like a total sales year to date. It's showing me that in like January I closed 700,000 in business, but then in February I closed almost 6 million, right? And then again a little over 5 million in March, and then right now, you know, I'm having a down month. I got $1.5 million closed with about another $1 million to go. Okay, so if I want to, I can come back out here, and what's really cool about this is you notice that when I mouse over these, it's clickable, and so I can click and go, okay, well, show me what it was. I want to see everything I closed in March. What were the deals that actually made up that volume? And I can actually pull them up here, and I can see what the close dates are. Okay. Very handy. But the key to this, though, being accurate is all dependent on you and you being accurate in how you're reporting and moving things through your statuses, okay? So that's what that's doing. Underneath that, it's got loops year to date. For practical purposes, as an agent, I'm an agent too. Did I mention that at the outset? I'm a 17-year veteran. I got a team back in Indiana selling. All I do is list property. I don't show homes anymore because fires drive me nuts, okay? So all I do is list property and go around the country and teach. So anyway, I don't use this very much. This is just showing me what loops I've created and what months and where they're at, okay? So I've always got some archived loops out there. And so notice this, it's telling me to click to view loops. It's not showing me volume anymore, but it's actually showing me loops, okay? Loops without prices, year to date. Might be an active listing, might be something that I created and forgot about, might be the kind of thing I'd go to click on to say, okay, what is it that I have out there that actually doesn't have a price on it? And notice right here, it's showing me nothing, and it's because my filters are set. So whatever I've got out there I didn't want to see anyway. I'm going to talk about filters in just a second. And then loops joined via easy offer. How many of you guys are familiar with the easy offer? Okay. That's what I'm going to teach at the end of the class today. So I'm going to make you stay long enough to get that, but you guys will be glad you stayed for that, okay? Questions about the dashboard? Okay. Next to the dashboard is the loops icon. And so your loops icon, you got a couple things going on. I'm going to switch this, okay? So this is probably what your view looks like most of the time when you log into Dotloop, except that, you guys have the Exit Realty branded version, okay? But you have the large circles right here. If you've got a picture uploaded in your loop, it'll be sitting in the back of the circle. The large plus sign right there, which is where we go to create a new loop. We're in this view. This view is called the grid view, okay? Meaning that we do have the larger circles. You can see in here with some of these circles, they're complete, right? You got a full solid blue line right there, and like this one right here has only got a partial line. That means that I've got tasks that are incomplete in the one that's only got the partial blue line. It means that right now, these ones that are completed, I have no task due in those loops or those transactions, okay? Make sense? Okay. So your alternative view here is right underneath my face, right underneath the account button right there. I can switch that to what's called a list view. And then in my list view, I'm seeing this a different way. Now, like right now, the way I'm looking at this doesn't make sense to me because what it's showing me, it looks like it's unfiltered. Let me check. It is. What's doing? Okay. So I'm looking at an unfiltered view of my loops or my transactions. So think about this. How many of you keep either a spreadsheet or a dry erase board or white piece of paper or something like that in and around your area that you write in your active listings, pending sales, under contracts, and all that, right? So the loop view on here, I want you to think about the loop view like that whiteboard, okay? What we want to do is, like right now, what we're looking at is we're looking at a whiteboard that's got every single transaction we've ever created on it. Not functional, so there's no purpose in doing that. You would never do that. You erase things and you write in what you want. So what we're going to do is this. I'm going to go over to the left. I'm going to filter this view. I'm going to say, okay, here's what I actually want to see. I want to see loops with no status because if I've created one with no status, then I'm obviously not tracking something well. I want to see what it is. I want to see ones that are active listings. I want to see my under contracts. I want to see my pre-listings and my pre-offers, and I'd probably like to see anything that's new. Outside of that, I don't need to see anything else on that whiteboard. I want to see what's current, what's going on now that I care about or I need to know about. So when I select those, I'm going to come over to the right. I'm going to click on filter. When I filter that, now what it's going to do is it's going to condense this down, and it's only going to be showing me the loops that I asked it to see. Okay, now what's cool about that is that same view translates over onto your phone. Okay, so any adjustment that you make to your filters right there is also going to show up here. So now, how many of you actually pull that whiteboard off of the wall, put it in your pocket, and walk around town with it? Right? But you can here. Okay, and you can do so much more with that. So that's what my filters are doing. So when I have filters unselected, I'm seeing everything. When I have filters selected, I'm choosing what I see, okay? Now, cool part about this, because we're in a list view and not a grid view. So remember, our grid view is big circles, right? List view is little circles. Because we're in the little circles view right here, we have more information outside of the loop that we can manipulate without actually having to get into the transaction and open it up. I can change the type of loop that I've got right here. I can put this under contract if I want to, pre-offer, sold, any one of those. So if this were an active listing, I could move it into under contract status right here. I can record a purchase price. I can record close date, okay? And I don't have to get in and out of loops in order to do that. So what I'm looking at is very functional for me because I like to be able to do that without having to bounce in and around. Because if you get 10 or 15 transactions going at a time, getting in and out of your loops every day is just not feasible. You're just not going to be able to do that all the time. The other cool thing about this is up here at the top, next to where I changed from grid to list view, it says sort by. Right now, the default has just got it sorted by my name. Well, for me, that's not helping me much. They're all in my name. So what I'm going to do is change this. I'm going to tell it I want it to sort by closing date. Okay, and so what that's doing is it's going to show me a list every time I open this up. It's going to show me the next deal that I've got closing at the top of the list, and it's going to show me what date that's closing on. Okay, so again, you get 10 or 15 things going at once. This becomes a very effective tool or just glancing really quick at your business to see where you're at next. If you're an agent that's carrying a big listing inventory, you can sort this by expiration date. Maybe that expiration date, the next one expiring, is more important to you than the next one closing. Okay? So on. So you got a lot of things in here. You can sort them by MLS number, purchase price, listed date if you want to, if you're filling that information in the detail.
You have to physically put the details in for the expiration date.
Yes, yeah. All of this to function the way you want it to relies on your accuracy with the information when you input it. Okay? As does anything else. I mean, your accuracy on your whiteboard in your office is going to rely on you and your pen, right? Or your magic markers, whatever. Dry erase markers is what I meant. Questions so far? Okay. Tasks. So my task button. What my task button up here is doing, I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this right now, so I'm going to come back. But what I've done is I've told it I want to see all tasks. What that's doing is that's showing me all the tasks that I have due for all of my loops, okay, everywhere. So again, I'm not having to bounce in and out of my loops to go and see what I have to get done today. I can just open up that task button up on the top right there, and it's going to show me tasks that need to be completed for all of my loops. And so when I go in here and I clear these out, it's clearing it in my loop as well. Make sense? Again, on here, you can also do that with your phone. So down at the bottom right there, next to the little loop button, there's a task button right there, and I can open that up. I can look at today's task, tomorrow's task, this week's task. Open all those up, and I can clear things out. Okay? Questions? Okay, it's just quiet. I'm going to keep asking questions until somebody asks me a question. So just to keep you engaged. Everybody have pasta for lunch? and then rinse it down with some hot chocolate or something?
Would you assign to me? Who would assign those?
Yeah, so assigned to me, it could have been me that did that. It could have been someone in my loop. My assistant could have assigned something to me. That's who I work for. It's her. So happens a lot. I'm going to show you guys that when we actually get into. We're going to start a loop and work through a transaction, and I'm going to take you through a task list in there and show you where you can do that. Okay?
Can an admin assign a task to an agent?
Yeah, they sure can. Go ahead.
Because you have all the filters, it's only going to show you the tasks to those current loops, right? It won't show you any, like if you've left something off of an old one, it's not going to bring it from
I'm
there.
not going to bring it up. Yep. Okay, so I'm going to move past that. Our people over here, so on the people icon, you got two different types of people that you're going to see in here. You're going to see your trusted service providers, and those are people that you work with in the industry that you chose to come in here and click and set up an account for them. You're not setting up a Dotloop account for them, but basically what you're doing is you're adding their name and you're adding their email, and what that's doing is at some point in the transaction, your client has an opportunity to engage them if they want to and request information. So by having it in there, it's just another contact that can happen without you having to make the introduction. Okay. Underneath that is contacts. Your contacts right here. This is basically a contact database for everybody that you've ever put into Dotloop. So it's not just going to be your clients. It's going to be your vendors. It's going to be the co-op agents. Everybody that you plug into a transaction, Dotloop is going to store their information. So if you wanted to get into one of these people and say they, you talked to them the other day, they said, go ahead and send me the paperwork at my office email, and they gave you the office email and plugged it in, and then 2 days later they call you back and say, hey, I actually want to can you change that and make that my home email address? I don't like getting it at the office anymore. You can come in here and you can edit that and change that here. Okay. Other cool thing about this is that if this person is let's say Barbara right here. Let's say Barbara's a lender, okay, and she's always going to be a lender. In my loops, that's what Barbara's doing most of the time. I can go ahead and come in here and select her role and assign that role to loan officer, so that I don't have to do that every single time I add her to the loop. So when I add her as a person in my loop, it's automatically going to make her the loan officer unless I tell the loop different. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. Okay. Why would you not want to assign a role to yourself or to your own contact?
Because sometimes you're the selling agent, and sometimes you're the buying agent.
Exactly. That's a hard question. Just check to see if you actually answer one. So it's good. Thank you. What's your name?
Lisa.
Lisa. Lisa's playing. All right. Yeah, Lisa. So everybody good? All right. So that's what we're going to move on to here. Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to bounce back over into the Exit Realty account here. All right, and because I want to look at, actually, looks like I'm in your Business Plus account. Okay, I just lied, and what I'm not going to do is confuse you guys by showing your Business Plus account. So I'm going to go back to my version here. We're going to look at templates. So in your templates, you're going to have 3 different types of templates in here. You're going to have document templates, task templates, and clauses, okay? Your document templates is where your office or your board has uploaded contracts, okay, documents that you're using as a part of your transaction, and maybe created different office packages. Maybe they've created a listing packet or something like that, or you can create your own packages out here. Tracy, you know, if you guys have?
We have seller and buyer packets and rental packets.
Okay.
We have form sets.
Form sets.
Yeah.
Yep. So what form sets, what he's talking about.
Ours look like that. Or it accounts look like that.
Uh-huh.
I don't know if the Business Plus will work.
Well, you're the company's Business Plus. Yeah, and that's what it did is they've given Dotloop usually gives me an agent account, and what they've done is they've connected me to the admin account. So I'm trying not to jump in and out of here because I don't want it to confuse everybody. But I will show you this. So you got your buying packet, your listing packet, okay? My Exit Training Master Folder, the MAR interactive forms, GBREB interactive forms. So you guys would be seeing those folders in your Dotloop account, okay? And that's got documents in it that you guys are going to need. So in addition to that, let me look at this and see. Do you have? So you guys have got some small lists. I saw this the other day. Is anybody actually using these, or these?
We're not currently.
Not currently.
Whether we be better off.
Well, let me show you this. Okay, I'm gonna get back into my account really quick. So again, you're looking at the same thing. It's just not branded. Okay, we'll call this the generic Dotloop. Okay, this is the off-brand, the store version of the product. Okay, so what we're looking at, it's got all the same features. I'm gonna pull down here my task list. And then I've got some that are set up in here. So like, see, I set one up for what this is called a boot camp. So I created a task list for my boot camp. So I want you guys to see this. There's a few things that you can do in here. Notice right here that I've got that one linkable. Okay, I created the task of log into Dotloop at www.dotloop.com. So by making that linkable, I'm able to, when I get into a loop and I assign it to a seller, okay, if this were contact a home inspector at www.carryteamrealty.com / vendors, and I wanted to bring that traffic back to my website, I can drop that link in there, and when I assign that task to my person, it's going to send them an email that says, Ken just sent you a task. Go out here and they click on it, and they can go out to my website, pick their vendor, and set up their home inspections. Okay. My team does this with reviews as well. In our post-closing checklist we set up out there. I have set up multiple tasks out there that are set to go out and ask them to review us on Zillow or to review us on Facebook, and there's links that take them straight out to where they can do that. Okay. Over here on the right, I want you to notice this. So notice the task I have set up here to log into Dotloop at www.dotloop.com. Over here, what I've done is I've told it that I want that task to be due today, meaning the moment I drop this template into a loop, I drop it onto a transaction, that task is going to become immediately due. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. Okay. Now notice right here, the one that says tour the home screen and demo the help center, it says it's due after another task, okay? So you can create dependency tasks in here, which is really cool as well. So I can click on that, and it's going to show me all of the tasks that I have in the list and ask me which one do you want to have completed before this task comes due. And I can go out there and click on that. Good so far? Awesome.
Can you set it up to be a certain number of days before, let's say, closing date?
It doesn't allow me to assign it a specific date. Okay, so you can do this week, next week, after another task. And I think when we get into the actual loop, it might let me throw a date on it in there. So we'll look when we get in there. Okay. Questions? Yeah.
So, you know, in the loops, other circles, and like they can start filling up.
Mhm.
They fill up as you do tasks. Is that
Yeah.
Okay.
So yep, when I drop this into a loop, it's going to it's going to leave my loop shaded gray right now until I complete a task, and then it's going to sliver over and
Okay.
that's exactly right. So you're never, I mean, when you're in Dotloop, don't think of needing to complete one big circle one time. It's completing circles every time you assign a new task list. If you put in a pre-listing checklist and got that done and completed everything out, you might complete that circle and then go in and drop in a listing checklist for things you're going to do along the way, and now your circle goes back to half complete. Okay? That make sense? Okay. And see where it says unassigned? That's where we're going to be able to get into the loop and actually assign it. If you're using the team version of the product, I talked about the team version a little bit the other day at the tech conference. If you're paying for that upgrade and you're using the team version of the product, you can go in here and actually assign that to a person on your team. So for me, I can build these task lists. I use the team version of the product. I can build these task lists, and on my list, I can go in and assign them to my assistant. So I say, I want, when we drop this task list in here, this one that's going to become immediately due belongs to Becca. And Becca gets a notification that she needs to pass.
So you create this a team version of just do that.
To be able to come in here and assign it, yeah, because you've got to have people to assign them to.
Right.
Okay? So, everybody good? Clauses underneath are just that. So these are things that you're writing in. So if you find yourself on purchase agreements having to write something frequently, my favorite example for this is seller to pay up to $2,500 towards purchaser's closing costs, prepaid, something like that. A lot of us end up having to do that. In Indiana, we do. I don't know if you do here too. Okay. I get tired of typing that. So, and especially I get tired of typing that because I pretty much type that the same way every time now. But my broker yelled at me about 17 different times that I wasn't putting everything in there exactly the way they wanted to see it. Before that stuck into my knucklehead. So I kind of finally went back in, tell me what you want to see, and I created the clause for it. So all I have to do, you see here, I've got it seller to pay up to blank. But when I drop that clause in, I just change the blank to the number, and the clause is already there. That make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I'll show you that in a
We have those on our.
yeah. So clauses are great.
Well, you have a tenant that has them all in it, and they can delete out what they want. It's easier to do it this way, you think?
You tell me. I don't have that addendum, so.
It's
And,
just a big blank document. It's got like 7 or 8 addendum items in it.
oh, and you just delete the ones you don't want to
Yeah.
use. Oh yeah, if you just put the clause in here and they go into the text box as soon as they start typing in that text box, all the clauses drop and they just pick the one they want and they'll just drop it in.
All right.
Yeah, and it's real easy. All you got to do is click on the plus new clause right here and just start typing.
Okay.
You don't
Because
name
there's
it.
more potential that I could add in there. I just don't, because it's document.
Yeah. Yeah, you can do this infinitely. It's not gonna. There's no limit as to the number of clauses you can place in there. Okay. Everybody good so far?
Mm-hmm.
So now I'll ask the question because remember we were wanting to skip all the baby stuff. We didn't want to do any beginner stuff in here today, but I did it anyway. How many of you guys learned something already? Okay, good. That's what I wanted to find out. So I'm gonna jump over here really quick. You see where my face is at right here? So that's my account icon. So if I go up here and I click on my account, you're going to see first right here's your account settings. Okay, so this is the email address that's associated with your account. If you're ever wanting to change that, that's where you want to do it. If you want to upload that photo that you're going to have on your signs for the next 30 years, right here, you can go ahead and do that. I change mine out every 20, so I can stay current. Okay, phone number. How you e-sign, okay? So how the system's going to default to e-sign for your signatures and stuff is going to be right here as well, all right? Company name, job title, tagline, NRDS number. If you ever get tired of chasing that around, you want to have that plugged in there, that's great. so that's that. Down here under profiles, very important under profiles for you to know this. When you go in and look at your profile, so if you're not getting notifications that you think you'd like to get, like you want to get a notification that says somebody signed a document or shared a document, you want to come and check under your profile, okay? And you click on profile, on the right side of the screen, come down to the bottom of the page, and there's your notification settings. So if you're saying, hey, you know, I want to see it pop up on my app that shows me that they signed a document, then make sure the app document signed is checked, okay? I always tell people I would start out with all of these checked until it becomes a problem, okay? So like for me right now, in my training account, it's not a problem. In my office account, for one that I actually use for my business, the compliance status of a loop is updated is a problem for me because it's constantly happening. There's things constantly being updated in compliance. I don't need an email every single time that happens because I'm in and out of the system every day and I know how to follow compliance, okay? So once you get better in the system, you won't need as many reminders. Make sense? Good. Then right underneath here too, for those of you that have a hard time sometimes with the font size or the color, you've got blue and black here. You can change your default font to blue or black. I keep mine in blue. Your font size on the right side, you can increase that to a 13 if you want to make the font bigger, so it's showing up bigger on contracts. And then you've got 3 different font types right there and the font style that you can choose from. So if we set all that up, that's how it's going to show up by default on all your forms unless you come back in and change anything. And that saves you from having to adjust fonts inside the form every single time. Good so far? Okay, not going to worry about upgrade, not going to worry about applications today. So here's the first quiz question. There's no prize other than your pride, okay, and being the one that got it right. If I wanted to go back to my loop screen right now, which button would I hit? The smiley face? Did you just say up at the top? Because there's like 6 buttons up at the top.
The loop button.
The loop button, okay. Yeah, you got it.
I like
Okay.
a smiley
The smiley face, yeah. All right. So back out here, am I in my grid view or my list view? List view, exactly. So what we're going to do is we're going to create a transaction. So I'm going to do it right out of here. And what I want to do is this. So if I'm going to create a transaction and I'm in the list view, I'm going to click on the plus create a loop right here. If I'm in my grid view, I'm going to click on the giant plus sign. Everybody good?
Mm-hmm.
Did I give you guys a handout? I didn't give you a handout. You know what I'm going to do right now? I'm going to give you guys a handout. You earned it by getting that loop question right. So that's as far as I'm going, boss. You're going to have to dive across the table if you want more. Can you just keep passing them down? Thank you. There you go. Wow, so close.
Give them to me and
There you go. It was so much more fun to try to throw big rush on the list, though.
One more.
One more? Oh. Okay. Huh?
I can make another cup.
I actually don't need one. Actually, I need copies of these. Yeah, maybe about 10 of those.
Okay.
Yeah, and then I'll just keep doing that from there. Okay. So from here, what I'm going to do is we're going to create a loop. We're going to start a transaction. Can I stand up for a minute?
Can you,
Okay.
can you do me a favor and make it with an error of having 2 people, husband and wife,
Yeah.
okay?
Yeah.
Phony emails or whatever.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
Because I just ran into this.
Oh.
The wife wasn't approved, created the loop, and when I asked someone else, they said, oh, just create another loop.
Oh, you just take her out.
Well, that's what I wanted. I wanted to make sure that because she wasn't in there, and but we also changed different property at the same time.
Okay.
So I asked, which is easier? Is it easier to create a new loop, or is it easier
I'd just create a new loop if you change properties.
if you change property?
Yeah. And then, oh, thank you so much. Yeah, if you change properties. So let me do this. We're going to go ahead and create a loop. And the reason I caught the handout here was because what I'm going to go through right here is the process of making our listing searchable. Okay. So making a listing searchable. I don't think the other day How many of you guys were at the tech thing the other day? I don't think I covered this. This is one of the things that you would want to make sure everybody that didn't go to the tech thing, one, should be green with envy right now for not showing up and missing everything that you got the other day. This is going to put them over the top, straight up jealous, okay? So here's what we're going to do. We're going to go ahead and create a loop. And we're creating a loop. We're going to use the postal address of the property to create that loop, okay? So I need somebody in here. I want to sell somebody's house.
This is on mine.
You sure?
Yes.
Oh, you
So
hesitated.
what if you don't have an address yet? I always start them in as their name first.
Yes, and that's perfectly okay to do. I do that with buyers. So I got a buyer that doesn't have an address yet. I'll tell you what I do. You want, it's a trade secret. We're not out here competing, so I'm just going to tell you. I'm an open book right now. What I do is I sit down. I do a consultation with my buyer. Right? Says here's what the process looks like. You're going to get pre-approved, and then I'm going to start showing you houses, and then I'm only going to show you 3, like HGTV, and then you're going to have to pick one. Right? That's what we're going to do. And then they leave me.
Nice.
Yeah, no, that never works. So, but what I do is I sit down and say, here's our process. Here's what we go through. Here's Dotloop. This is how we transact. Why don't you, hey, by the way, since we're all sitting here together, why don't you go ahead and download the app on your phone? I'm going to get you set up. And what I do is I create a loop with their name, and then I drop my buyer agency agreement in there. And then I have them go ahead and sign that. We're going to sign this practice document, okay? But it's a real one, too, so I want you to pay attention to it. You should go out and, I'm going to show you homes for 2 weeks. You're going to look at 37 of them, complain about all of them in a seller's market and how you're only getting, 50% of what you wanted to, and you're going to turn around and go out and buy a buy-owner 2 weeks after that and not tell me about it, but you're still going to owe me money, right? I have that whole conversation with them. It sounds a lot like that, too. I go through it really fast and just say, sign there, okay? So I walk them through that process. I walk them through the signature process when I do that. But I create the loop with their name, and I wait until we get an address and then I actually change the loop name to the address. That's a great question. For right now, though, you have an address and you want to get rid of it.
Yep.
Okay, what is it?
5 Cutler, Cutler Road.
5?
5.
It feels like it's like one of the original houses in the United States. It's like the 5th one, right? Cutler Road?
Yep.
Okay.
Paxton, Paxton.
Thanks for spelling that. Paxton, Massachusetts?
Yeah.
Okay, so see what happens here is when I start typing, okay, and I'm looking, Dotloop is doing a couple of things here. It's looking and it's searching for 5 Cutler Road in 2 different locations. It's looking in the Dotloop database to see if there's anything out there, and if it's not seeing it, it's looking on Google Maps to see if it can establish the postal address. So what's happened here is that it's picked it up. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually click on the Google Maps address, say that's fine, we're going to use that, okay? And I'm going to do create a loop. And so what we're going to do with this, now that we're in here, now you guys have, on yours, you guys have templates set up, right, Tracy?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I'm going to show you what it looks like without the template. And what that's going to do is when you get back into the one with the templates, you're just going to love your office for all the work that they've done for you already, okay? We're going to go through this the painful way because I want you to understand what all is happening with the loop itself, okay? So what we're going to do is this. First thing we want to do, again, think about your whiteboard, okay? We're going back with the whiteboard in mind. First thing we want to do is identify what type of transaction is this that we're doing, okay? This is going to be a listing for sale. I'm going to go down here and change this to a listing for sale. Now notice as soon as I did that, it comes back and it's immediately, and it's got it right there in orange. It's saying, okay, well, what's the status on this? Where are you at in the process with this listing for sale? I'm going to assume, with as good as I am, that we're going to get this closed today. So I'm just going to be presumptive and go ahead and make this active, okay? Or otherwise it would be a pre-list if you're getting ready to list it, okay? We're going to move this straight into an active status. And then I'm going to do one other thing for housekeeping, very important. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to come in here and rename this folder. I never want a generic folder name, okay? And again, think about the paper part of this, right? Would you pull a manila folder out, stuff papers in it for a transaction, and then, you want me to move?
I need you to go one way or another. Thank you.
You're welcome. I'm like a lion. I'm just like back and forth all the time. You would never take a manila folder, pull it out, put the papers in it, and just throw it on the desk without labeling that folder to say, here's what it is. I want you to do the same thing here. So, again, to the right of the folder, How's that look? Did you see that right there? Right there, right
Yeah.
there? Is this?
That
my less
is an
intrusive?
yeah, if that is an awkward for you, that's fine.
Well, it's a little awkward, but I mean, I want you to be comfortable. So what I'm going to do, click on those three dots, and I'm going to click on rename, and I'm going to name this one my listing folder. Okay? Again, you guys have templates. The office has done a lot of this stuff. A lot of the legwork, a lot of the heavy lifting on this, the housekeeping stuff has been done for you, but I want you to know what was done, okay? So next thing we're going to do before we start doing anything else is we're going to come down here and we got to address our people right away. So what I'm going to do first is I see myself in there. I've created the loop. What I'm going to do is I'm going to come over here. I'm going to make myself the listing agent. I'm going to assign myself that role. That's part of the process of making this searchable later, okay? So you have to have that done. And then I need to add another person. Who am I adding?
The seller,
Sorry.
me.
You.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah,
You
that
need
was
my name?
actually, that was a backwards way of saying, hey, what's your name?
okay,
Yeah.
it's Lisa.
Lisa? Okay. Lisa?
Sorry, I was taking notes at the same time. Reese, I'll make it easy, R-E-E-C-E.
So close.
No, we're not related.
You seem that sweet, though. See
Thank
what I did there?
Thank you.
Okay.
That was a
Yeah,
good one.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's it. I'm quick on my feet. I know.
That was slick.
I know. I'm full of it. I can tell you that right now. And if you don't believe me, ask my wife. Okay, so I've got Lisa's address in there, email address. I'm going to assign her the role of seller. Why am I assigning roles?
Because it'll pre-fill on a document.
On a document, exactly. When they set up interactive documents, it's all role specific. Okay.
So why do you have training with Kim plus Lisa at Gmail?
Because I don't actually know Lisa's email address.
Oh, so you were just using something.
Yeah, I'm
I
borrowing
just
it.
didn't know if you had a fun little short trick there.
It is a fun little short trick that I'm using so that I can capture all of Lisa's email. So I can sign. So she really has no choice but to list me today. That's why I went ahead and made it active because I'm going to sign it for her anyway. So
While you're on that topic, though, will you share with a villager, doesn't tell you that, but
No, it doesn't.
mm-mm. No.
that I was waiting for contract from that.
And it never came back. Well, that's why I like the waiting on others thing, though. That's why I'm constantly mousing over the waiting on others, which I'm going to show you guys in here to see if I'm seeing it after an hour, they haven't viewed it. I'm impatient. I'm calling them and saying, hey, is your email broke? I always blame it on the client like 6 times before I accept any responsibility for it, which is why I probably quit working in fires. Okay, now I want to show you guys this. So in here, as soon as I dropped her role to seller, it gave me more information. I'm going to show you guys right now the most dangerous button in the system, okay? Very unsuspecting and very powerful, and will get you in a lot of trouble, is this add to my team button right there, okay?
Yeah.
You never want to click on that, period, unless the person that you're adding to your team is sitting right next to you and you want them to have access to every single thing you do in that loop. You want them to see your client's private information, their phone numbers, their email addresses, your listing contracts, okay? This is somebody of great and wonderful trust. Also, note that it's not necessary to add your admin staff from your office to your team. You don't need to do that because you notice in mine, I'm going to click on add person here. Yours is going to be similar. When I created the loop, my admin staff for the office is already here and already on my team. So you know what that means? It means the moment I create a loop, they can see everything anyway. And I want that. Okay, so agents tell me all the time, well, that's a problem for me because what if I mess up something in the loop? I archive it. They can see it. They don't want to. They're not out there looking for every single loop that you create. They're looking for things that they need to look at and address based on a set of circumstances that you provide, okay? So you can also create training loops for yourself, create practice loops and archive them. It's not hurting anything. You're not bogging the system down or creating work for the admin staff, okay? Everybody good?
Mhm.
That was a soapbox. But,
I have a question.
yeah,
If you add someone to your team, like 2 agents are working on a deal together, can you then assign tasks for like that other person?
Yep.
Or on your team? Okay.
sure can, yeah. But, I mean, if you're doing that on a regular basis, you'd really just want to explore the team version anyway.
Yeah.
Like I say, it costs a little bit more for me, but it's worth every penny because the oversight that it gives me with my people is wonderful. And right now, I need a lot of trust. They're out today with Chelsea. What time is it? Chelsea should be headed to the bank with a check for me right now. She just closed the deal for me at 1 o'clock. I'm not there for any of that stuff. I need oversight. I need to be able to see what's going on with things. And so she didn't even call me, which tells me everything went fine. Okay. But I can see every document she adds. I can see every loop she creates. All of that stuff notifies me. Becca, my assistant, can go in there and sign things on my behalf. She calls me and I'm out on the road and she said, hey, there's an FHA mandatory clause or something that just came in. The lender's saying they need this like right away. What do you want me to do? I could say, go ahead and sign it on my behalf and send it over there. And then I can see it in here and it'll show my signature. But if I go back and look at the history, it shows Becca signed on Ken Carey's behalf. Very cool stuff that you can't do by just clicking the add to my team button. Okay.
Yeah, that team version.
So am I skipping ahead if I ask how we get that FHA mandatory clause into the loop?
Yes.
Okay.
But ask me that again when we get to the document part. So
Okay.
I don't want you to go with the question unanswered,
Okay.
and I'll forget.
Don't worry, I won't forget.
Okay. I somehow believe that. Okay. So next thing I'm going to do is this. I'm going to go ahead and so remember before I told you we're going to talk about tasks a bunch of different times. So on your sheet right here, we got our sample task list. Okay, so they're just ideas, you know, new offer checklist, listing activities, all of that. That's kind of what I'm covering right now. You guys remember I showed you guys in there where I had created a boot camp checklist for myself, right? So what I'm going to do to make sure that I stay on task, pun intended, is to go in. I'm going to load a template right now. I'm going to say, okay, here's what I want to do. I want my boot camp training task list assigned to this loop. I'm going to click on add. And now you can see that that task list has been loaded successfully in here. Now, I want you to see this. Now, see where it says unassigned over here? Down at the bottom, here you go. This is what you were looking for. Now that we've actually got it in the loop, we can be specific with the date. Okay? So when you're building it as a template, you can't be specific with the date because the system has no way of knowing that you've got 14 days to get that inspection done. Because it could have been 12 on the contract. All these things that end up being negotiable. But once you know, right, and you've got timelines that are established in there, if you've got a task built into the list that you want to do that, you just come down here and change the date assignment on it according to the contractual stuff, and it'll get in. Okay. The other cool thing here is that now I've got a couple of people in the loop. I can come back down here and I can assign those people. So hold on, let me try that again. So down here where it says assign to no one. Oh, hold on. There we go. There, see Lisa is right here.
Mm-hmm.
So there's my client. I can assign that to Lisa. All right, so that one shows unassigned. Did I just assign you the wrong one? I probably did because this thing, that's fine. I'll give her 2 tasks. She seems like she needs stuff to do. Otherwise, she just sits up here asking me questions. Okay, so we got Lisa. So that's been assigned to Lisa now. So what's going to happen is Lisa's going to get an email that says Ken's assigned you that task. Okay, so you can go through there and drop those in. If you're operating on the team version, you can build the assignments in the template. Okay. Otherwise, you know, the system has no way of knowing who your person's who's going to be the buyer, who's going to be the seller. Doesn't know the email addresses and all that. You drop them in here when you get back in. Make sense? So what happens now, if you look up here at the top, so here's my loop. It shows me 0% of tasks completed. I start checking these off. So you guys will go through this with me in the class. Did we log into Dotloop at www.dotloop.com? Yeah. We'll check in there. I have not gone over the home screen yet. Did I demo the dashboard? Yep.
Yep.
Yeah, thank you. Did I demo the loops page, the filter, and the sort by options? Yep, we did that. I touched on the task icon. We talked about people, trusted providers, right?
Yeah.
Okay. We talked about templates, task clauses.
Yep.
We've created a new listing and we're making it searchable. I'm going to go ahead and check that off. Okay. So you can see down here, you see what's coming next in just a minute, right? So hang on to that question.
Yeah. Oh, we're gonna have a lot of this one.
Now here's what's going to happen. Up at the top, now that I've got that done, so before I go any further, I want you to see this. Notice up here, so you got your address line
Mhm.
and your refresh button. Those are the only two things you're ever going to need from your browser, okay? Address line and refresh button. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to refresh this because I checked off some of those tasks. And what's going to happen is my loop is now going to have a line, okay? Now I mouse over that, it's showing me 33% of my tasks have been completed, which means I still got a lot left on that list to do, okay? For you guys, it means we're 33% of the way done, okay? So, not that, I know that you guys are like, I could listen to this guy all day, but unfortunately, I don't have that kind of time. So, questions so far? Yeah.
As an office, can we add tasks that automatically populate to a buyer and seller?
Yes, you can add tasks and assign them to a role.
Or automatically assign for a loop?
Automatically, it would be in the loop. So in your loop template, when you build in your loop template, you can automatically have a task list that goes into that template. So as soon as the agent creates the loop and says, I want the new listing template, that
Like we have a document called checklist. The forms we require at closing for our audit purposes.
Yeah.
Client.
Yeah.
We could fix that and just have extra tasks that they check off that yes, I have this, 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 and this.
you could make the documents actually required. And so they can't submit until the document requirement's been met.
Oh,
That'd be
a lot
the,
of headache.
Yeah.
that would be the way to do that.
So you make it individual document, how do you know whether that, do they assign it as a specific document? Because sometimes an offer of the purchase might be called 100 different things.
Well, right. No, see, that's where I can't speak to that here. So, because you guys have New Hampshire forms, you guys have Massachusetts forms, you have all those things. But here's what I can do. So if you're building a loop template, let's say it's a Massachusetts purchase, okay? Are you pretty much just going to have one purchase agreement that you use for that?
Yes, but it's not always going to be fully consent. So you're going to be uploading it back in as a PDF.
Oh yeah, no.
So then can you make that document labeled off of the purchase so that they're checking out that requirement? Or
You can. So here's what I would do. I would actually drop in the form, okay? Put it in there as a requirement in your document set.
Yeah.
Make that form required. So if the agent has to go back out and they have to go out and pick up a PDF copy of this, they're still going to fill that information out on the form itself, and then they're going to print that so they have a typed copy of it. Then they're going to take it out and get signatures, right?
yes.
So they're going to bring that back in. They're going to scan that back in. Now, the problem that creates is they scan it back in, they've got the one package and all the required forms with no signatures. Am I tracking?
Right.
Okay, hang on to that. We're going to come back to it.
But you
Okay.
also have another problem, because some of us will create our templates that already has our information on it, so we don't have to do that work later either. So if you put the form in that I already put all of my information as an agent on it.
Right. Well, so there comes a point, and when the more organized the office is on the backside and stuff like that, the less you as an agent really need to do with that. You're really there to meet that requirement. But I see the benefit of what you're talking about. So creating personal document templates so you can add your name and you can add your license number and the things that you don't want to keep typing in over and over again. Yeah, I see that. At some point or another, there becomes a rub between those two things. Most of the time, it's not a problem because most offices aren't that organized yet. But you get a really organized office on top of things, and it's still really less work for the agent to just follow the office system. Okay, so that was free, by the way. Okay, so where was I?
All right, so loading documents.
We were loading documents. I was going to show Tracy where he could make a form required, but I've decided not to. Okay, so here's what we're going to do. I'll show him later. Okay.
I'll have to watch it according to the I have to leave first.
That's fine. I'll run the company while you're gone. I got this under control. Yeah, I'm saying yes to everything. Okay.
Do it, have them do what you want to do.
We're getting a new bubbler. Bubbler. Is it bubbler or bubbler?
No R.
No R. So yeah, I got it.
You're in
Okay.
central now.
I can't keep up. I'm messing up everybody's words. Okay, so we got everything done. So I'm going to go back in here. So we got our Cutler Road in Paxton. Mine's going to look different than yours is here because I'm not connected to your agent account. So you guys probably already have documents in there, right?
Yes.
Okay, and that's probably still a work in progress, it sounds like. Maybe not?
He's
Pretty good.
Pretty good?
with,
Well,
yeah, fine.
You got a good
Yeah.
document that you've already got set up in there.
Yeah,
They're all documents.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd like to make it a little bit more streamlined and efficient, maybe, with the task.
yeah. So, okay, so what we're gonna do is this. You know what I'd like to do? Can we do this? It's 2:53. Can we take a 10-minute break? And I'm gonna contact them and tell them to connect me to your agent account so that I can do this with your forms. It's gonna be more beneficial for you guys.
Yeah.
Huh?
You want me to log in my account?
No. It'll be much. I'm too capable of breaking stuff, so, no, this will be fine. Everybody just take 10 minutes. And what I'll do is then I'm just gonna keep you in your seat for the whole rest of the class, okay? So how many people do we have remote?
A couple, I think.
Okay, there's a couple folks that are remote. 10 minutes in real agent,
4 people.
four
remote, but they
people
can
remote. It's
still hang on.
2:54 on my computer, so I want to do this in real people time. So let's make it 3:04. Everybody needs to be back, not real estate agent time, not 3:14, okay? So I'm a real estate agent, I know how that goes, so, okay. And I'm gonna call them and get myself set up.
When you come back, do you mind just hitting, I'm gonna hit pause recording and just hit restart on it?
Yeah,
Under the more button, or
Yeah.
somebody?
put somebody with more
Can you do
gigabytes
that?
of storage in their
Just
head.
click on the more button and then,